Good morning, everyone, and welcome to reInvent 2024. I assume this is the first session at this year's conference for many of you, so thank you for attending this session, and I hope you have a good reInvent. And I certainly hope we can give you all a good opening act here. My name is Amit Vaswani. Today, I'm honored to be here on stage with my esteemed colleagues, Oliver and Anna, who are both sitting in the front row, to talk about how AWS and BMW are teaming together to work on some really cool innovations in the automotive space. All right, so here is how we're going to spend our next 60 minutes together. I'll start off with a quick introduction of AWS supply chain, what it is, why we built it, and why it might be of interest to you. Then I'll hand it over to Oliver to talk about how BMW is transforming sustainability in the automotive space. And finally, Anna will lead us through some launch announcements for some really cool things that we are building to help BMW and other customers in this journey. So let's start off with a quick introduction on AWS supply chain. It's a relatively new service, so I would assume that some of you or many of you may not have heard of it before. And so what's the story behind the service? At Amazon, every good story usually begins with a press release. And it's true. We write the press release for something before we even start building the product. And we use it as a mechanism to make sure that what we build is going to solve real-world customer problems. And so this takes us to 2020. And as many of you, or all of you would remember, this is when we were in the midst of a global pandemic. Factories all over the world were shutting down, running at reduced capacity. Supermarket shelves were out of product. A lot of people were struggling to get basic necessities like baby formula. Everybody remembers the toilet paper episodes and so on. And people were honestly like stocking up and hoarding up in fear of running out of these products. It wasn't just the factories that were impacted, it was also the transportation network. It was challenging to move goods between locations. Trade routes were shutting down, ports were congested, and transportation bottlenecks were severely impacting the global supply chain. This was a really challenging time for supply chain practitioners. If you were a demand planner and if your responsibility was to forecast how much of something you would need to sell, it would be really challenging because all of your customer buying patterns had changed in the course of a few months. If you were a supply plan practitioner and if you were responsible for placing the purchase orders to make sure that those supermarket shelves remain stocked, you also would have had a really hard time because you didn't really know which suppliers were going to be able to deliver your product and how much of it would they be able to give you and if they would be able to give it to you in a timely fashion. And then similarly, if you were a transportation manager, you actually really had no idea where your shipments were in the global supply chain and if they would ever arrive at the destination or if they would arrive on time. Amazon as a retailer was facing many of the same challenges and investing significantly in improving its own and streamlining its own supply chain operations. Now, obviously, Amazon had built a fairly robust supply chain in the 25 years before that, but even that was being put to a test during the pandemic. And it was during this time that we realized that many of our AWS customers would benefit from a lot of the innovations that we were doing on our retail side of our business. And a group of Amazonians wrote this press release to bring the magic of Amazon's supply chain expertise to AWS. Lo and behold, 2 years later, so reInvent of 2022 is when we announced the launch of AWS Supply Chain. What is AWS Supply Chain? It is a cloud-based supply chain management application that helps you make your supply chains more resilient and helps you react to unexpected disruptions in supply and demand. Over the last 4 years, we've worked hard on identifying key challenges that our customers are facing in supply chain management and incrementally building and delivering features that make it easy for them to deal with those challenges. And so let's go through a few features that we help with. The first and foundational problem that we can help with is to provide accurate and up-to-date visibility of your entire supply chain data. This has historically been a very challenging thing for customers because supply chain data is typically spread across a whole variety of different supply chain and ERP systems: procurement management systems, order management, warehousing, logistics, transportation, and so on. Each of these systems usually has its own siloed data store and their own data models. And so it becomes really hard and cumbersome to be able to pull together data from all of these different sources, stitch them together, and provide a uniform experience. Many customers don't bother doing it at all, and so they continue operating in these siloed data stores. And in some cases, customers spend lots of money and lots of effort in working with vendors to bring all of these data sources together, and even then, it's expensive and hard to manage. With AWS Supply Chain, you can automatically create a supply chain data lake with all of your data in just a few clicks. The service is designed to connect to almost any existing supply chain or ERP system and uses advanced machine learning to be able to understand, transform, and stitch together all of these data sources to give a unified data model. Just having all of your data in one place can in itself be a big step forward in making your supply chains more efficient and more effective. Now that you have all of your data in one place, what can you do with it? Out of the box, the first thing we do is help you identify key risks related to your inventory. So for example, using your current inventory levels, your upcoming demand, and also taking into account real metrics around customer demand, supplier lead time, and so on, the service will alert you if you are at risk of running out of any product in any of your locations. But just identifying the risk is not sufficient. You also need to do something about it. So the service also helps you contextualize the risk. So for example, if you are at risk of running out of a product in location A, but you have too much of it in location B, the service will recommend that you move some of your inventory from location A to location B, or location B to location A in this case, if it makes financial sense. In some cases, there might be multiple different ways to mitigate the risk, in which case, and the service will list all of them and give you heuristics so that you can pick the right option depending on the needs of your business. Another key problem that we help our customers with is demand forecasting. This is probably one of the most commonly used capabilities that our customers use us for today. Being able to accurately forecast demand is a key input into any inventory planning system. In the past, many customers did this using spreadsheets or other ad hoc means, and it was manual and it was fairly tedious. With AWS Supply Chain, you can get automated forecasting based on prior sales data, as well as it lets you take into account other data drivers such as holidays, promotions, sales events, and so on. The service provides a suite of machine learning and statistical forecasting algorithms, and you can pick and choose which one is best suited for your business. That way, it removes a lot of the guesswork and manual effort involved in generating a demand plan. The logical next step after demand planning is to create a supply plan. With your forecasted demand, you now need to plan the purchase of raw materials, components, finished goods, and whatever items your business may be interested in selling. This can be non-trivial to do correctly because you need to take into account various factors like liquidation costs, holding costs, salvage value, transportation costs, and so on, and use all of those to determine when to place an order, how much to order, where to order from, where to order to, and so on. Just like demand planning, our supply planning engine removes the guesswork and automates the creation of a supply plan that takes into account all of these factors, and it can help you ensure that your business meets its expected service levels and is also equipped to deal with any unexpected changes in supply and demand. And then finally, another key challenge that we help with is to securely and efficiently manage the collection of sustainability data. If you are a manufacturing company, historically, regulators had only asked for your own sustainability data, and they were okay with you providing estimates of anything that happened upstream of your business. However, increasingly, that is changing, and regulators are requiring disclosure of sustainability data across your entire supply chain. So for example, the CSRD regulation in EU, the ESG Disclosure Act in the US, and a whole host of other regulations around the world are bringing the sustainability problem to the forefront. Managing this at scale is challenging because it requires participation from all the tiers of your supply network. You could do this manually by reaching out to your suppliers and their suppliers and so on, and aggregating the information and then presenting it. But it soon becomes hard to manage, untenable, and honestly, impractical to do at scale. With AWS Supply Chain, you can do all of this within the application without requiring to reach out to your suppliers out of band using emails or other methods. And you could use data request templates that are pre-built into the application, or create your own templates based on the needs of your business. This is just a beginning, though, and sustainability is an area that we're committed to going much further. And this is where we are thrilled to be working with BMW to define the next generation of tools that will help us really transform this experience for customers. And with this, it gives me great pleasure to invite Oliver to stage to talk about the challenges that BMW is facing and the innovations that are driving in the automotive industry.
Thank
you,
Oliver. Thank you, Amit. So this was the general perspective how AWS started, and I would like to lure you in a little bit into the area of the automotive industry, where we stand and where we are right now. So to produce this wonderful car, which will come out next year, I have contracts with me to sign up for, not just kidding. The question is, how is this car produced, and what challenges do we see coming for BMW? So if you look at our supply chains, and Amit was doing a marvelous job explaining that, but if you look at it from an OEM perspective as a BMW car manufacturer, it is a global supply chain. And it has 6, 7, 8, 9 tier levels sometimes, going down to the mining company, producing parts add on, to consolidate eventually in a car or in another product. They spin around the world, multi-tier. And as Amit mentioned before, they all face similar challenges. There's one product that goes around the world, and it's actually looking for the right supply and demand balance. In the future, it looks for sustainability information. How was this product sourced? How was it produced? What's the CO2 value? What's the circularity information on this product? And also, is this product, when there's a quality issue, can we trace it? Can we track it? Can we zoom in into the error? What else is affected? And if you go down there, it's pretty much you need multi-tier capabilities. The multi-tier capability to go from N-tier to an OEM and a recycler or going down is a capability our industry, as of today, does not have. And we strongly believe this is not a winner-takes-it-all game. BMW, we started 2018 to build our own monster partner platform. Let's put it like this. And we failed to roll it out across all of our suppliers because they say, why do I should use your system if I have 500 other customers who also want to force on their system to me? How should that work? So we tried, and we thought we're strong, we're innovative, and we're cool. Let's still try it. And we got to 15 partners collaborating with us. I think Volkswagen had a similar idea, but it also started with, it's not one solution fits all, and it ends specifically when you want to say, I'm Volkswagen, I'm BMW, I'm Mercedes, I'm Ford, whatever, and I have a direct contractual obligation with my first tier. But it ends on second, third, or fourth tier. You do not have a business with them anymore. And it's hard for them to adopt to your challenge if they're not direct partners of you. So what we said, what we have to have, if we have to solve as an industry this multi-tier collaboration game, we strongly believe it's not a winner-takes-it-all game. We need one piece, and this means interoperability, freedom of choice, and use of sovereignty, that you do not lose control over your data, and you can choose the solution that fits to you. So it's a beautiful digital challenge, and the cool thing is it's all built on one thing. Because if you look at this on a more schematic side, what the business needs is standards, protocols, interfaces that you run a business process, if it's supply performance, as Amit showed beautifully, quality, sustainability, or others, that you share the same standards and protocols. It's like in email. You do not care what other email program you as a recipient use. If I send it, you want to make sure it's received on the other side. If you put in the name, the content, signature, or whatever. And then you can pass it on, et cetera, et cetera. So we built for our top business processes the same industry foundation. And that's a key element that can unify the businesses. We do not have that today. On the right side, if we have that, the question is how to bring down the costs. We have to somehow connect that it do not create a monster database, that all the world wisdom is put together in one database like an almanac where you can look at it and you lose control because all the others would like to look at it as well of your competitors. You'll make sure that the data stays where it should be between you and your direct business partner, nowhere else. Don't lose control of the data, and that's why we created a connector, the Eclipse Data Space Connector. It's built on open source, and this connector can be reused for all the different business processes. So stay in your stack. Each vertical, each business has their own solution from an architecture point of view. No, we said it has to be unified in order to scale, to share cross benefits between those cases. And how that works, we said, do we do this as BMW alone? No. We actually started then Catena-X. Who of you heard Catena? Hands up quickly. Okay, so 5% or 10 of this room. It's pretty much an industry coalition. At the beginning I said, we thought we can do it on our own, but we came to the conclusion we can't. So we teamed up at the beginning with 6 other partners, and soon we were 28, and said, we want to build a shared industry service with shared industry protocols and data services that we can reuse and create together because we trust each other from greenfield. And for OEM, it's no longer just saying, I need this data. The supplier says, I need this in return to build a foundational element, a business case for me as well. Now, we are more than 190 partners already globally with Ford, Mercedes, Volkswagen, CATL, Henkel, Siemens, SAP. So when we want to create a new ecosystem for data, we just cannot take the OEMs along. We also have to take the first tiers, the second tiers, the recyclers, the service providers. We have to take the entire community that is part of that ecosystem and make them part of it. Otherwise, they feel left out and they will rebel. So we tried something for us as an industry, I believe something new, and it worked. And for that, the left side is those guys, they built everything in open source. It's released on the Eclipse Foundation because then everybody has the right to say what's in there. And we can together not say, I want, if you deliver with open source, you can also use open source. It's what stays in the industry. The second step, how we scale, right? One is software. The other one is we need regional hubs. 6 weeks ago, we launched a hub here in the US with the AIG, which is the biggest automotive association in North America with about 4,800 members. And they joined Catena with the hub because of sustainability. Because it's not one solution fits all. We need interoperability. We need, as Amit showed as well before, solutions that scale along the entire chain, not just for one part. And we have a hub, we opened that in China because it's not a US, German, or German, France. It's a global game because, as you remember, the value chains are global. We have a hub in China. We're working on a hub in Japan. We have already 3 hubs in Europe. Why? Because here, we have to create a foundation that we can exchange data wherever possible based on mutually agreed standards, trusted and interoperable. And the cool thing is, it's not just the automotive industry any longer. We started that 2.5 years ago, but now other industries are joining that game because if it's open, if it's standardized, a supplier may not only serve one industry, they serve other industries as well. And we want to make sure that it scales. And we see semiconductor industry in Europe coming up with Intel and Infineon. We see aerospace with Airbus and others. We see chemical industry. They all want to create a so-called data space, what we have for automotive, for their industries as well. And then suddenly, this whole thing is no longer 2 or 3. It can have massive scaling capabilities. And so we looked for partners who can also scale and bring this connector with the right service as an entry position, and this is what we will talk about in a second. Now, the benefit of all that is pretty simple. You can run your business process end to end. You no longer just optimize your business within your company or with your direct supplier. You can optimize your business process end-to-end, as Amit beautifully showed right now. And that's a capability Catena-X will bring to the table. The second thing is you can choose your solution provider. And it fits your region. It might fit your current digital readiness within your company or your architecture. But you can choose what fits to you. And those testimonials you see are the CEOs and CTOs of the top automotive industry companies in Europe right now, with BMW, Volkswagen, SAP, Siemens, etc., as industry outfitters and service providers in the BSF say, we need something that we can create as an industry that scales. Why? Because more and more data we share is sensitive. It's no longer just plain data that shows compliance, ABC. What Amit showed before, CO2 data, eventually purchase decisions in big corporations are based on. You now want to put this into a central database where others can look at, hey, my competitors just pitched 6 tons, I pitched 5.9 tons. You want to make sure that that data is safe and sensitive and trusted. Same with capacity information. You do not want your competitors to know what's your volume planning for next month when you want to pitch the last sale. And also, with quality, you want to make sure that if you have a quality incident, you'll make sure when you release it that it's really just affecting those companies and not others. And because you have so many challenges, if you look for every challenge for an own architecture, an own solution, you will fall apart because you drown in costs. So you need a common architecture at the bottom that you can reuse for every business process. And again, it's fundamental changing for us as an industry because so far for every business process, we built an own architecture right now, an own data model, an own connector, an own service to inter-exchange, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a mess, and it doesn't scale. With Catena, you can have this mutual layer at the bottom together. So how to join Catena? It's pretty easy, actually. You register a data space because you need all participants, they should be trusted. So you have a certification that you as a legal corporation exist, and a clearinghouse provides the information that you are a valid legal person, right? That you accept the terms and conditions of this data exchange. And then as we as BMW pretty much talk to our suppliers now and say, okay, we want you to use the Catena-X standards for all your business process in the future. We will put this into our nomination process. And the first thing is for digital readiness. You have to make sure that you can provide exchange data whenever with Catena. So it's a first starter package. We do not want to throw a full ERP solution out there. We say we need a starter package because the industry is immature right now as a whole to exchange data. So we need a starter package that can serve the 3 business units of 3 business process. And then we focus on traceability, as Amit also mentioned, primary CO2 exchange next year, building battery passports, which will be crucial in Europe and also other regions of this world with product passports and certificates. It's not easy right now to say from a supplier, what's your location and what's your certificates there? Right now in our industry, we exchange emails, PDF documents and send them back and forth. And that's bureaucracy pure. But we do this because we love it. We do it for the last 15, 20 years. And it's actually costing a lot of money for a small, stupid thing. So we want to reduce costs, improve efficiency, and run business process end to end. So that's why we intertwine quality and sustainability. With the quality case, we strongly believe we can build, as BMW, a foundation that covers the cost, that we reuse the same infrastructure because it's based off Catena, we can reuse it for sustainability purposes. And Anna, I think it's now your great moment to shine, to show us how this all works together in a great product we developed over the last half year.
Thank you, Oliver. Hi all, my name is Anna Kantor and I'm AWS Supply Chain Sustainability Product Manager. As Oliver mentioned, exchanging sustainability data is not an easy task in the automotive industry. And with that, I would like to invite you, to imagine that you are an automotive supplier analyst. So you're the person in charge of exchanging sustainability data with automakers like BMW. And today, your day starts with grabbing a hot cup of coffee. Hope people like coffee in this room. So now you have your coffee and you're going to your desk and you receive the data request from the automaker. And sometimes these data requests come in via email, sometimes they come via the phone on an ad hoc basis. There's no real, calendar around it, so you might be even surprised that you received it. And now you're wondering, well, what details do I need to submit back? And there might be some back and forth over the phone with the automaker. You might send an email to them. There's no standard, data format for these requests. So fine. So you put your coffee aside. You worked on the request. You clarified everything, and now you need to submit it. And you're wondering how to submit it. And there might be some designated email or a web form or a dedicated shared drive to share. No standard sharing mechanism exists. So finally, as your coffee is getting cold, by the way, now you're wondering, well, when I send this data, is it actually a secure exchange? And who on the automaker's side will actually have access to my data? Once you send it, you're ready to drink whatever is left of your cold coffee. Now you're wondering, well, am I done? And that's where the process really gets confusing and labor-intensive and manual, because you might be repeating this if the automaker requests the rework on the same data request. And keep in mind that you're working with multiple automakers, so it's not uncommon to receive the same data request today from BMW, and then tomorrow Mercedes would request similar data in a slightly different format, and you will have to repeat this process again and again. And I see some nodding, and I'm sure nobody likes cold coffee here. So as Amazon, we work backwards from our customer needs. And we talked about this process with BMW and their suppliers. Popelman, an automotive supplier, shared that they spend on average 55 minutes to submit one data request back to the automaker. So that's a lot of time. And then Schaeffler shared that they have on average 3,000 of certificates to share. So you can run the math. It's a lot of time, and the process is time-consuming and inefficient. It's costly, it's error-prone, it's very manual, and quite confusing. And as Amazon, we could not, sidestep the opportunity to improve. Unfortunately, we are not in the coffee business, but we are in tech business. And with that, I would like to announce that AWS supply chain goes Catena-X. This is a great slide. Please take a picture of it, read through the details later. All that you need to take from here is that we are launching the Catena-X capabilities for the standardized data exchange in the automotive industry. And our solution is easy to use for the automotive suppliers and requires no cumbersome IT setup. Okay, everybody took a picture, great. So now I would explain how our solution would simplify the day of the automotive data analyst. On the left-hand side, you see how the process is happening now. Lots of frustration, lots of cold coffee. In the future, with our solution, all that the analyst would need to do is to upload the data, share the data with the Catena-X network. And after that, our solution will take care of the rest. You need to share the data only once, and it goes to all of the participating Catena-X automakers according to your data sharing consent level. The exchange is secure, standardized, and you don't need to monitor it all the time. Once you need to update something, you receive an automatic reminder to go back into the UI and update it. And I would like to quickly demo our solution as it's seen by the data analyst who is trying to upload a certificate to the Catena-X network. So first you would see how you upload the certificate first you would see how to establish the connection with the Catena-X network, and this needs to happen only once. Once you're set up, you upload your certificates, you set the data sharing level, you share the data with the Catena-X network, and then once the data is uploaded, you could also manage the data and make updates if necessary. Thank you. So as you noticed, this didn't take 55 minutes. Just want to make a note of that. We got an early feedback from the automotive suppliers that our solution is easy to use indeed. And I would like to note that this is just the start of a journey, and the digital transformation that the Catena-X is bringing to the automotive industry will bring higher visibility into the supply chain, better collaboration with automotive suppliers, and it will drive multiple benefits for the whole industry. And as for our timeline, in early 2025, we are launching capabilities to exchange company certificates and electronic control unit data with the automakers for a limited set of suppliers. In a few months, we will make it generally available across all automotive suppliers. And a few months later, we will also add product carbon footprint and traceability data exchange into our solution. And as we grow, we will continue solving multiple use cases for Catena-X and the automotive industry. We would like to hear back from you if you have interest and want to participate in our beta, or just have some thoughts about Catena-X and AWS solution. Please feel free to scan this QR code and share your feedback. We would really appreciate that. And with that, I want to thank you, and we will stick around for the Q&A. Thank you very much for joining.